While the lack of info on hydrocores when making Sigmar's travels was annoying, but that's behind me. Time to get started on the next video. Grungni's time in the Age of Myth makes sense. Oh, good god, what have I gotten myself into? After leaving Sigmar's travels, with Sigmar freeing the two Dwarden, because that's how it's pronounced, Dwarden. Thank god I was taught how to pronounce that, because there's no avoiding that word in this video. The two Dwarden ancestor gods, Grungni and Grimnir, from their chains on the top of Chamon, the realm of metals, Iron Mountains. But how did they get there to begin with? That took place well before Sigmar's travels, while he was still stuck on Malice waiting for Dracothian to save him because I lied, and his travels weren't actually what started the Age of Myth. That's just a very good place to start. Now, I couldn't find when and where Grungni woke up in the mortal realms, just that he was the mightiest of the ancestor gods to awaken, of which there are hundreds of them, but only 4 named ones, 2 which are dead. Kind of. With Grimnir getting shattered and scattered across the realms, like Sonic losing all his damn rings, and Gazul, the dwarven god of the dead, getting vored by the prick of all pricks, Nagash. But it's implied that he still exists in some form if Gazul's priests are to be believed. There may also be some info on the other ancestor gods in Warhammer Fantasy, but diving into fantasy lore gives me hives, so that ain't gonna happen. Anyways, back on track. Since Grungni's the Lord of Charmon, it'll be there he had woken up, and every other god has a realm tied to it. Sigmar got Azia, Tyrion and Tekla share Heish, Malarion got Ulgu. Yes, I called him Malarion. Cry about it. Nagash got Shyish, Grimnir got Akshi, Gorkamorka got Gur, and Alariel got Gyran. So it makes sense that he got Shamon. Out of all the Dwarden ancestor gods, Grungni was the mightiest of the ancestor gods to awaken, and of which there are many ancient myths. Cool! It'd be nice to fucking know them, but that could also be a skill issue on my end. But I at least know some information of what happened before Sigmar found him. That being that he forged the chain that Grimnir used to chain the god beast Ignax, the binding of which is what created Akshi's second son. Soon after Ignax was bound by Grimnir, an event called the the Great Betrayal happened, which was described as a wave of traitorous acts that caused the Dwarven pantheon to break apart and left Grimnir and Grungni chained on top of Chamon's Iron Mountains. Not much is known about the Great Betrayal, because, of course, but what is known is that there are many myths that say Grungni himself built the chains that bound him and Grimnir. It must have made a great conversation between the two when they were there, chained for God knows how long. Also, the traitorous acts that caused the Great Betrayal to begin with is probably GW teasing the Chaos Dwarves in some fashion, or they will use this as a springboard to introduce the Chaos Dwarves if they ever decide to do them in the future. Because that is actually how you do it, GW.
I needed that! I needed that too! You're pushing your luck, Scoob!
So fast forwarding through God knows how many years until Sigmar arrived to save the ancestor gods, and they swore oaths to repay him. Now we're back to where I left off from the video on Sigmar's travels. Grimnir repaid Sigmar by getting himself fucking killed, but Grungni isn't a warrior god, he's a smith and craftsman, so he repaid Sigmar by teaching the newly awakened mortals metalcraft and how to create magical artifacts, and crafted works for Sigmar and the other gods in Sigmar's pantheon, the Pantheon of Order, such as the Seeds of Iron for Alariel, so a kid to Sylvaneth could utilize it for either defense or war. But since this is a setting for a war game, it's mainly for the latter that they're going to be using those seeds for. But most importantly, he crafted the Sigmarabolum, a giant ring orbiting Malice, the Anvil of Apotheosis, and the 6 Smiths. What these 3 are going to be used for is a secret for another video, so keep an eye on my channel. But every god has their own special projects. Alariel had the Sylvaneth, her children that she adored. Tyrion, Teclis, Malarion, and Marathi, even though she isn't a god at this point and won't become so until the Age of Myth, those 4 had the restoration of the Elven race. Because at the end of the critically acclaimed End Times, pretty much all of the Elven race was devoured by Slaanesh, so that is something they have to contend with. What Grungni had was the Dwarden and the other mortals who devoted themselves to him. For them, he found the Khazalid Empire and created the 19 Wonders of Chamon. I'll tell you what these were, but there's not really much on them except for 4 confirmed ones, and only the Gold-wrought Isles has any significant information on it. The Gold-wrought Isles, being a subrealm of Chamon, comprised of perfectly straight islands that served as a home of the Khazalid Empire. But between now in the Age of Myth and far into the future in the Age of Sigmar, it would eventually become the Spiral Crux, a region that's now described as a labyrinth of jagged cliffs and impossible landscapes. The other 3 named wonders are the World Hearth, which the only info about it is that it's one of the wonders of Chamon, because of course that's all the info that's available on it. The Cog people of Odson, which were a race of people created by Grungni who were disowned due to an event called the Winding Storm. The only info on the Winding Storm is that it's an event that led to the Cog people's disownment. But when the forces of chaos eventually invaded the mortal realms, Zinch had his eyes set most on Chamon of all the realms, so it would have been him behind the Winding Storm in some fashion.
That's a nice argument, Senator. Why don't you back it up with a source?
My source is I made it the fuck up.
The last named wonder is Mara's Drung, which is referred to as one of the many grand cities created within Chamon. Why is this city particular called a wonder? My best guess is it was either the first and that every other grand city in Chamon, like the forge city of Grungni and Alexia, used it as a blueprint, or perhaps the other 15 unnamed wonders are in fact these great cities. I'm also inclined to believe that Aether Gold is one of these wonders, Aether Gold being a form of Chamon's realm stone, Chamonite, and its creation is always tied to Grungni in some form. But the specifics are up in the air, with some myths saying it was created from the dust of his hammer and anvil mingling with his breath, but others say his creation was his folly that led him to leaving the Pantheon of Order. How the creation of that would be considered his folly, I honestly don't know, because Aether Gold is a valuable and vital resource for the Kharadron Overlords far in the future in the Age of Sigmar, with its uses going from powering their airships to all the way to being used in the brewing of their beer. Though, considering that Aether Gold is actually supposed to be highly caustic, causing bad chemical burns and also sending people fucking insane, I wouldn't drink that stuff. Though actually, come to think of it, that actually might be why it's considered Grungni's folly. Anyways, long ass tangent aside, and going back to the Khazalid Empire, before all that happened to the Gold-wrought Isles that eventually turned into the Spiral Crux, the Khazalid Empire expanded mountain ranges in each realm of the mortal realms and mastered arts such as blacksmithing and stonework. Once the Khazalid Empire was fully established and thriving, Grungni left to build the aforementioned Sigmar Abalam for Sigmar, and after that was done, he went into a self-imposed exile as he felt he had finally repaid Sigmar for freeing him, and he also believed that only adversity could bring out the best immortals, and that he couldn't guide his followers forever, so he decided to leave his followers to fend for themselves. He certainly picked the perfect fucking time for that, because it was around this time that the forces of chaos arrived to ruin everyone's day. Especially Alarielle, because that poor woman just cannot catch a break. So that was Grungni during the Age of Myth. Please let me know what you thought of it, anything I might have gotten wrong, and ways to improve in the comments below. I tried to get rid of the worst of the breathing sounds from this one that plagued my last video, so hopefully I didn't miss any this time around. I would also like to take this time to apologize for my voice, because I'm sick in the moment, and also apologize for any crows you may be able to hear in the background. It seems the Chaos Gods are trying to keep me from properly recording this video. You honestly have no idea how many recordings I had to throw out because of those goddamn fucking birds. So, sorry for all of that, but please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.